Okay, so there's been a few things that I kind of wanted to talk about the past couple of days, and we'll just have to see if I remember anywhere near all of them. I probably won't, but we'll figure it out. The first thing that comes to mind is, okay, a couple nights ago, I stopped in over at my brother's house to switch vehicles, right? And we were talking for a little bit. He had his wife on the phone and talking about the whole dog and scammer business. And I don't know, I wasn't really into the conversation, but I kind of allowed it to take place around me anyway, and I was there and would occasionally offer, but this kind of points and whatnot. And while I was sitting there, I had a message pop up that I had an email, right? So I look at the email. Hi, you have stinky breath. She's been playing. So I look at the email and it's like somebody had commented on the skating video that I did the other day about how they didn't even have to watch the whole video to know what kind of person I was, one of those kind of things, and TY, and I was like, I was talking to my brother, it's like, so it feels kind of shady. It's like, I don't know, it was just one of those comments where it was kind of like, so what's the point in wasting either of our time by even saying anything? You literally don't have to linger on the videos. If you don't like what you see, go away. Yeah, but I talked to my brother. I was like, I'll probably just delete this one, I guess. It's like, because it doesn't feel like it needs any kind of response. And he said, or you could respond just to fuck with them. And it's like, yeah, I thought about it. I did think about it. And I decided against it. I was sitting out here throwing the ball for Gidge and got to messing around on my phone. It's like, you know what, fuck it, and we'll just delete it. Great, hide them from the channel, whatever. Piss off, I don't care. So yeah. But I've been thinking that I kind of regret doing that from the standpoint of, I feel like at some point it's going to be kind of important for people to be able to look back and see that there have been shitty comments along the way. When I was really first starting out on letting more of myself, I guess, really show in the videos, it was getting used to the idea of being seen at any capacity, and I don't know, it was a whole weird thing in and of itself anyway. So when I was getting used to the idea of allowing myself to be seen, then it's like, I don't regret getting rid of those comments when they were kind of shitty. I mean, or just one of those where you can't really tell what the point of them even having bothered to say anything at all was. And I feel like part of that feeling, because it's always leaned negative, like when I've been like, okay, but they didn't really say anything, but at the same time I feel like there's kind of this implication behind what they're even bothering putting out there, right? Now, there again, the one a few weeks ago where the chick went straight shitty, I had no problem calling her out on it. And when it was very clear that she was just trying to get a response and, you know, be a distraction, then, you know, because that one had said, I remember what exactly she said, something about being tired of people's sob stories on the internet or whatever. It's like, you literally don't have to, like, stick around. So what's the point? If, like, why do you have to say the mean thing, right? So I've been realizing that, like, these little low-key underhanded kind of things that leave you feeling like they didn't really say anything bad, but I feel like they intended it to be negative when I received it. I think that goes back to this whole, like, the narcissistic family dynamic, honestly, because it's basically like a subdued form of bullying. Did they say anything? Maybe not really, not directly, but the feeling I got from it felt kind of shitty. So that's been, like, you know, raised or growing up in this family, right? And hi. She loves me even if her grandma's a pain in the ass. But yeah, okay. On this point, I also watched a video night before last, Richard Grannon, where he was talking about basically splitting. He was talking about how the narcissist has two different, like, okay, there's the persona where they're the terrorist, right? And they make your life a living hell, you know, and say the things like, I deserve this as much as you do, or, you know, find a way to make me spend the rest of the day crying because my bear picture won a contest and she didn't have any other way to ruin it or get in my way of being able to do something that won. So she just had this twisted thing come about where she and my dad were kind of the subdued assholes, if you will. Okay, so there's the terrorist perspective, right? So, and yeah, where they're doing the flat out mean things and saying the mean things and all that stuff. And then there's the other one where they're the victim and, oh, woe is me, and nothing ever goes right for me, and blah, blah, blah. And there were two squirrels running down the tree, and all at once 3 of the dogs went after them. I think the old ladies might have gone in. Pepper's on the porch. Zibby hasn't liked being around when Daisy's here for a while, and since Daisy's here, she's probably in there. But anyway, yeah, but then, you know, the persona where the world's out to get him, right? And he was talking about how they're not split. They just have 2 different ways of being depending on how they feel they need to be in that moment, right? Whereas the person that they are targeting, so like me and my brother fall into that, especially me, where, especially both of us, because he just gets hit with it a little differently. Like mine's full out. I've always known she hasn't liked me, right? There's never been a doubt in my mind that at the core of who she is, she does not like me. Just like my existence bothers her. But at the same time, she still managed to find ways to live vicariously through me and, you know, suck the joy out of the things that I wanted to do, or find ways to prevent me from ever stepping into a new level of or way of being for me, because I want some kind of life, right? My brother, I feel like she plays more on his, I think with him she plays more on the victim end of it, and me, it's more the terrorist perspective, but with a switch into the other side of it from time to time as well, depending on what she needs, right? So he was talking about like they go back and forth between the 2 different personas based on Daisy. I don't like when she goes behind the shed, and I feel like she's behind the shed. Hold that thought. Okay, I don't think there's anything for her to get into back there, but don't need to take any chances. I know bunnies are under these sheds, so one of their ways in is under this thing that I'm sitting on. Like, yeah, I don't know, it's in there a little bit, but every now and then Gage will stop and like start sniffing it. They had one under the clubhouse. There's that little sandbox thing at the bottom of it, and it had a little board that goes across it, and they built a way into their little underground under there. So dogs found it. I haven't seen them do anything with it in a while. I think they might have figured out that wasn't the best spot for it, but there for a while the dogs were very interested in it. Anyway, so he said, of course, how if they were only ever the terrorist persona, then it'd be really easy to write them off and never have any sympathy for them or anything else because they're freaking awful, right? But on the other hand, then they can switch into that whole victim thing, and then it's like, well, now wait, what's going on here, right? So, and I feel like that was exactly the way with my ex too, because I remember when I was in Alabama right after we got into the apartment, I had a time where I was journaling a lot, and I was trying to keep track of what he was doing, and I got myself all fired up because there was so much of the bad coming at me all the time and I was writing it down and how I was feeling through everything so much that I decided to leave, right? And this was when we were in the apartment, so it didn't stay. But like the big thing was when I left, then he starts coming at me about how the only reason I left was because I can't do anything without my family and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, then I get here and my family's trash talking him all the time because they hated him. It's like, did I leave for him or because he's an asshole, or did I leave because my parents were in my head about it, or my family was in my head about it? Because it wasn't just my parents. It's like, then I wasn't sure anymore. So then I ended up back down there, and it happened a few other times. But the big thing was when I was down there, every time I came around to really realizing that was going on, when I was trying to really embrace the emotional terrorist side of him, I stopped talking to my family altogether for extensive spans of time because I was trying to make sense of what was going on and not have them in my head, make sure they weren't in my head when I was trying to, work through this stuff. Because every time I got around to them and then they were doing that stuff, and I was like, I don't know if it's me, or I don't know if it's him, or I don't know if it's them, or I don't know what's going on. It's like, there was so much confusion again, right? So, yeah, so he was Richard Grannon was talking about how, the narcissist isn't split. They go between the two different sides of two different personas based on what they need in order to get their supply from you, or however he worded it. He said, but you become split because you can't put these two, or put the two different things together. So, right, there's this one side where they're the victim, and then there's this other side where they're the terrorist, and then there's a gap in between, and you struggle to make sense of what's happening because you see them on both of these different spots. And it also makes me think of my Osho Zen Tarot deck. There's a Schizophrenia card that talks about that split and how, I don't remember exactly what it says, but it's talking about that split and things being these two different ways, but for the man to be whole, there has to be the bridge, right? So it's like the world, because this is not just this itty bitty little thing. Like, this is a huge thing, like, collectively, because so many of us are having, you know, or have had people that have been doing these, or playing these mind games. That's not wise, dude. Hey. Hey! They're fighting over a stick. It wasn't even a fight. They were just both her, and he's just a lot bigger and can get it away from her. Oh, I know. Wasn't it so terrible? My little cousin. Yeah. So anyway, yeah. You know, like, to be whole, we have to be able to bridge everything together and to realize, you know, come into the oneness. Hi. Man, you gonna sit on my lap too? Oh. No, that's a rabies tag. We're okay. I wasn't sure which tag she had on top. Yeah. But anyway, so with that, where was I going from there? Or how did I get there, rather? Because I know as soon as I start, like, I'm trying to leave breadcrumbs so I can get back to the things, but then sometimes I'm still iffy on it. Let's just follow it, see where we go. Next thing that comes to mind. Yesterday. Okay, no, night before. Night before, my mom had her surgery, and they stopped and got Culver's on the way home, and she decided to get me a Dr. Pepper because she hadn't done that for me in a while. It's like, it's because I'm not really drinking it. So she got it for me, and it's like, this is a very bad idea because it was already like 6 o'clock in the evening. But I had like half of it, and as to be expected, when it was time to go to sleep, I could not go to sleep. However, I think it was that day. Okay, so I've been talking a lot about the Eklektik shelf page. I have a ton of the earrings that she sent me. This was one of the freebies that she sent on my first purchase. So, a couple days ago, I woke up and was thinking about, okay, I wore my vulture shirt, right? And then I was thinking I should see about finding, like, earrings, right? And then I was like, wait a second. I know this girl makes earrings, and she has a wide variety of things that, you know, get my attention. And so I sent her a message asking her if she had anything on the hawk and vulture end of things. And she hadn't, but she, you know, we started talking about it and brainstorming on it, and kind of bonded. She, yeah, it shared aesthetic, if you will. But yeah, like, she sent me some things that she was trying out, and like the first one she sent me with the hawks were amazing. And oh, I don't remember exactly. I know she used this the sparkly pink acrylic for it, and there was a thing over it kind of shaped like a rainbow, but things falling out of trees, but not. I think it's like a white iridescent kind of a thing, and she said she picked that one because she thought it would go good with my hair. Because I sent her a picture of like my shirt and everything that I had on that day, and you know, because it was the vulture, I love that shirt. And you know, just what I was doing, my thing, I guess. And you know, when I sent her one picture because she was talking about colors that I would want, and I had a picture in front of my one of my walls in my bedroom. I was like, well, I like color, so It's like, as you can tell. So she said she picked this one in particular because she thought it would pop with my hair. So it's like, hey, I like how you're thinking already. But we talked a lot that day. And then that night, after the Dr. Pepper, I was ready to go to bed. My brain was not ready to go to bed, so we ended up talking a bit more, because she said in the weeks leading up to any gift-giving holidays, she spends a lot of time with all-nighters. So she kind of naps and then will do work stuff and ship out orders and all that fun stuff. So yeah, but then I couldn't sleep. So then we were just talking, and of course I guess she used to work with animals too, so she was, okay, it got kind of interesting. I think it was that night, she sent me a message. It was like the first one back after she took her nap, and I was working on going to bed, and then I saw that I had a message from her, and I look at it, and she says, random question, how do we feel about the god Horus? I was like, I said, we love Horus. And I sent her a picture that had the necklace in it, and Gidget was in the picture too. And then, that started a thing with, she was asking about my two healers, and it's like, oh yeah. So she'd worked with animals, and it was a whole thing. Had lots of ideas on that end too. That was kind of a path I don't really know if there was more to that I was specifically aiming for. It was like 3:30 by the time I finally fell asleep, and I had to get up early yesterday because I told my brother I would take his dogs away from the house so he could he had to be trained on getting the house ready to be staging the house, right? So they're having people come in to look into it and see if they want to buy it, all that fun stuff. So they trained him on what needs to be tweaked in order to have it appropriately staged for selling it. So yeah, so I didn't have a lot of sleep, but I don't remember much of the dream. But the weirdest part was there was something about my mom's energy, and like, I don't, Nosferatu, right, which apparently means vampire. I was like, I know it's associated with vampires in some way, but I don't really know how or why or anything. Apparently it means vampire in another language or something, so it's like, okay. But it was just like combined with my mom's energy, right? So it was just a really dark, icky feeling. And so I get up after that, and I didn't really know what to do with that, because that's just kind of weird in and of itself, right? So I go pick up my brother's dogs and go about the day anyway. And I had a bunch of stuff that was like, I kind of want to talk about this on a video. And I had that sense all day yesterday. Like, there were so many little things that kept coming up to mind, and I was like, I need to do a video and talk about these. But it's like it kept not being able to happen, like, for whatever reason. We ended up at one point, I went to, okay, my outfit for Sunday, I'm still going with it, but the shirt clips that I got from Amazon, I did not pay close enough attention to size-wise on these little buggers, and they were like this big. It was like literally like my knuckle, the end of my thumb. It's like, what am I supposed to do with that? And I even sent a picture of it to Wendy, and was like, okay, so I said, shirt clips, right? She said, yeah. And she was talking about it. It's like, what the hell do you got? And Corgi just found something. Looks like a looks like maybe an old Frisbee or something. I don't know. But anyway, she was like, yeah, I sent her a picture. I said, what am I supposed to do with these? And she's like, whoever made those clearly is not from the 80s or knows nothing about the 80s or whatever. It's like, yeah. And like, she took a picture of one. I guess she made it like real quick and sent it to me. It's like, perfect. Right? So she's got some of these now. Hi. I don't need your nose in my mouth. Yuck. Ugh. Especially when you've had God knows. Why do you smell like? You smell gross. Oh, don't do that. No, no. She smells like she's been rolling in something nasty. What the hell, man? I don't know what's going on right now. Oh, stop it! Yes. You two. Gross. So anyway, yeah. So I took the shirt clips back, right? So that's what I was doing last night. But then my brother was kind of iffy on if he was going to need me to watch Gracie for a little bit while he ran to Beach Grove to sell some things, right? He posted some stuff on the marketplace and had luck selling them, was trying to make quick money for taking Gracie to the racetrack over the weekend, and it worked out. So he was doing that, but she didn't want to go. And my mom had, I don't know what was going on with her. Before I left to walk my dogs yesterday, she was trying to say that the scammer that she'd been talking to for like a month or whatever had sent her a message saying she got the puppy back and what shipping service would she like to use. And my mom's trying to bring me back into it, and I was like, if you go along with that, you're just stupid at this point. So it's like, you already know it's a scam. The whole thing has revealed itself, so if you continue to go in that direction, that is on you. And I left. Took the dogs, went on a walk. When I got back, I don't know what was going on, but she was crying. And I was not trying to get involved with that. So, and I know that probably just sounds terribly heartless, that I don't care that my mother was crying, but I don't care that my mother was crying. Going back to that whole victim versus terrorist point, this has been my life, y'all. So yeah. My brother sent me a message that she had sent him saying she needed to see her Gracie. And he said, okay. He said, what's going on? And she comes up with, you're moving her away from me. And I was like, yeah. I said, so, she's been crying. I don't know if she's just, building up to whatever bullshit she's going to continue on with, or so there's something else going on. I said, I'm not engaging. I'm not trying to figure that out. I do not want any part of it. I said, just be aware that this is what's going on. And he said, okay. So he was kind of torn on if he was going to bring her over or not. So I ran out to take the little shirt clips to the UPS store to return them to Amazon so I get my money back, because I get how they be used, because I saw a bunch of pictures with them being inside the shirt material, so it's just pulling the shirt together more, and it's like, I don't like those. I'm going for like 80s, man. I like the colors and the things from the 80s and all that stuff, so we're going back that way, right? But yeah, not this little ridiculousness. So yeah, when I was at the UPS store, he said she did want to come over. I said, okay, I'm not at the house yet, but I will be soon. And that way he could get ready to bring her over here, and we try to have very little time where she is unsupervised with the grandparents, because they are untrustworthy and manipulative as fuck, right? So, okay. One of the things that really hit me yesterday morning after the Nosferatu thing with my mom I was sitting there working on motivating myself to get up and start getting ready, and it really hit me, the part where my mom knows how Gracie acts when she has sugar. But because Gracie loves this one type of donut that's, not too far away, it's Panna, my mom was just going to be nice to her, and she allowed Gracie to have one without any protein. So Gracie goes wild as fuck. Not a new problem. She has done this her entire life. Every single time she has like something really sugary and doesn't have protein to counteract it, she goes nuts and kind of gets a little mean. So, like, she used to have issues where she would just start like wailing on everybody. Luckily, that has toned down a bunch, but it took some time to figure out what was going on, and it was a bad reaction to sugar. So she can have the sugary things so long as she has some kind of protein beforehand. Before. Not after, before. And my mom didn't do that. She just gave her the donut. So then, when Gracie went wild, now this was a few days ago, so it wasn't yesterday or the day before. So when Gracie goes wild, and then my dad's in the room, my dad says, "Gracie, I don't like you very much." It was literally, like yesterday, it really just hit me. It's like, that was literally why me and my brother haven't been able to do more, because they've worked together to our detriment in that way. Because mom sugared up the kid went wild like was expected, like we all knew she would do, and then dad acts up, right? And then dad says the mean things, and then Gracie's crushed, and then she gets all upset, and then dad's told he's out of line, and so he leaves and goes and has a temper tantrum elsewhere. But it's like, she did that. She's always done that. But we never really realized what it was she was doing, because, that gap piece, right? So it's like that shady part of her goes all in on giving you the things that are going to make you act a certain way, and then when you do act a certain way and he turns into a jerk, then like, the only way I could ever make sense of it was I turned in on myself, right? And I hated myself because I could never do anything right. And it's like, everything in my life keeps telling me that I suck at everything, so why bother? Why am I even fucking here, right? So I was like really struggling with that. But like with that situation with my parents, it was just like, oh. And it's one of those things, I've talked about it on here before, knowing that that is a thing that happens, but yet it still hit a new layer of me understanding it yesterday. 3333. Because it was just so right there. It's like, this is literally how they have always been. This is literally why everything's been so difficult, because they work together to fuck with us. And they still talk shit about each other behind their back, so it's like, they don't even like each other. But at least if they can, at least in the time they were able to gang up against us, then they didn't have to worry about the part where they didn't like each other, because they would just put it out on me and my brother, or now Gracie. So it's like, this is literally what my entire life has been. But now I'm having to see it to understand where it's coming from, so I can understand that split, and that, as I'm trying to find the bridge in between everything that's jacked up in my life and make things make sense. Yeah. Okay, so where does that take me? Another thing, yesterday was a Medusa day. So I had my Medusa shirt on and Medusa earrings from the same shop. And I will say I really wanted to do the video on that end too, but even more so because I had this thing that happened with that back in December. I was one of the first times I was wearing this shirt, and it's a light pink, kind of fetish, but the entire thing is fetish. And I had picked up my contact solution bottle and for some damn reason put it on my shirt, the bottom of it. And there had been a little bit of standing water in that section, so it was kind of like it had this weird orangey kind of goo on the bottom, and it got on my shirt. And since it was a light colored shirt, it's very visible, and it drove me nuts. But the funny thing about that was back in December, when I was doing a video talking about that very thing, because of that very thing, it's like it had this connection with like religion, and you know, when you have the religious types talking about you just need Jesus and all this bullshit, it's like, then they go around and find all the things that are obviously wrong with you, like, hey, you got a stain on your shirt, right? Because, you know, everything that they get to see is through this idea of this person. Would you stop bringing me that? Just slimy ball on the back of my leg now. Just flipped it into the rock. She's not impressed. Yeah, go fight that. But yeah, it's like, that's basically what religion does, is it just gives people space to think they have the right to go around and tell people, point out what's visually wrong with people, or, you know, the easy things to find. It goes back to that speck in the eye thing. No, I definitely don't want that. Then we got that ball, and then we got that ball. And a bug. Oh, that I squished. Anyway. But it started one of my tangents about being pissed off at religion, and you know how it just makes people feel that they have some kind of right to go around and point out the little stupid things that people have wrong with them, but without actually getting to know the person at all, and likening it to the surfacey things. Damnedest thing, y'all. Since I didn't do the video yesterday I wore the same shirt, the Medusa shirt. Did the same exact damn thing. There was a little orangey bit on the bottom of the contact solution, and I put it on my shirt. Again, as soon as I did it, it's like, son of a bitch, I already know what this is. You know, is that flashback to the thing that happened before, right? So it's like, well, clearly I got to do a video thinking about this whole thing now. Okay, I did not do the video yesterday, right? And I was so freaking tired yesterday, and of course that whole vampire bit, and I'm pretty confident that I felt strongly that, like, my mom has somehow been pulling on my energy anyway, negatively, of course, and I was so freaking cranky yesterday. Especially later in the evening and all that. But since I didn't do the video yesterday, oh, that was the thing. I was going to do a video after I got back from the UPS store. I was just going to stop by the school and do a real quick one over there. That was graceful. Oh, dogs everywhere. No. Taz, stop. It's like my stick. Yeah. Anyway. So, since my brother decided he was going to bring Gracie over, I didn't do the video. Right now. I totally just smacked myself in the eyebrow ring. Because I was trying to... I took a bath last night and put my bangs back so I could wash my face while the water was filling the tub, and that's what happens. They go, stupid. But anyway, I didn't do the video yesterday, so instead came back, hung out with Gracie and the parents. And I was like, well, lost opportunity on that whole end of things. No worries though. I don't know if you can see it. Yep, you can. Right there. The thing today was I decided to go to the blood center to donate platelets. Decided this morning. I had nothing else going on. Stop. And I had time. I got time. Okay, so, it's one of their later days. I think Thursday is one of their late days. So, I looked and there were plenty of appointments. So I set the appointment for 12:45. I was a little late when I got there, which was unfortunate, but there was other stuff. It was just, I got sidetracked when I was trying to leave. I wanted to walk the dogs first, but it was later than I had intended when we left the house and went over to the park. And we had Pepper with us, and so it ended up being a short walk anyway, but they were chaotic and kept stopping every little bit to sniff, and it was chaotic. So it was like, I left here with enough, well, it takes like 35 minutes to get there, and I left here a half hour before, so I was 5 minutes late. But it's like, the last several times it's been kind of iffy anyway, because like today my hemoglobin's too low or whatever, so didn't do it. On the way back, I was thinking, just all at once, it's like, why do I want Taco Bell? I don't know, I want Taco Bell. Stop! Stop, asshole. I went to the gas station parking lot and figured out what I wanted at Taco Bell. It's like diagonally across the road. So I put in my order there. I like doing it on the app so I can, change things. I like the grilled cheese burrito with no chipotle sauce and no sour cream, and I put avocado ranch on it instead. Right? So I like doing that on the app so I don't fuck it up and forget what else on it when I try to order at the drive-thru. So yeah. So I decided I wanted a root beer, because that's been the thing here in the past few days, right? Starting with my aunt the other day. Oh, that's another segue off this whole thing. Hopefully I'll remember it. Okay. So I ordered a root beer as I'm not even out of the damn parking lot. I go to the road to pull out on and take a sip of my root beer, and that happens. It's like, son of a bitch. And then I was like, but I didn't do the thing yesterday, so now I have a thing that came up so I can make sure to talk about it today. And I have my little sloppiness anyway. That going back to the other day when my aunt asked me if I would get Taco Bell for her and my grandma. She would order it on the app, and then would I go pick it up? And it's like, yeah. And it was all because she wanted a tea. And I said yes. But I'd had a root beer recently and been on a root beer kick here lately, so it's like, all right, give me a root beer. And that was the first time, and I don't know how long, that I have been around my grandmother. Every single fucking time I am around that woman, something else comes up. Not then. It's later in the evening, and then somebody tries to pull me into going over there. So I went and was talking to my mom that evening, not thinking anything about having to go deal any more bullshit with my grandma. But she was part of the angry gray mob in the recent dream. It was like I could very strongly felt her energy. It's like most of the family was just part of this gray blob, but I could feel her anger in specific. So I had to talk to my parents about something that night, and they were both in their room. I was just talking to my mom. My dad was just in there. And while I was standing there, this doorbell sounding thing went off, and it was the life alert it's not an actual life alert thing, but it is a thing that, my aunt and my mom have receivers to it. So if my grandma has some kind of issue, if she falls or whatever, she has this thing on her all the time. She can push the button, and it has the little doorbell, and then they know she needs assistance. So as soon as I heard it, I turned around and left. I didn't ask questions or anything. Then I hear my dad saying, Glenda, are you there, Glenda? Or something on the phone, or from his phone. Oh, nasty, what did you get into? That better just have been mud. Mud on my chin. But anyway, that one I think is more likely to be mud. But anyway, then I hear my mom say, "Can you go check on your grandma?" And I sighed in the doorway, and I never acknowledged it. And I went back to my office and I sat in the chair. It's like, no, I'm not going over there. I refuse, because every single fucking time I am in the same room as that woman and give her any kind of attention, I didn't ignore her that day. Fucking family's on the way back. They're in the yard, walking this way. So, see, I'm hiding behind the shed because I don't want to deal with them. But anyway, that was the thing, right? So every single fucking time I am in the same room as that woman and acknowledge her in any way, and that's all it took. And that day, she made a shitty remark about my shirt, my vulture shirt, right, that day. Alright, we are now behind the shed completely. My grandma can probably see me in her house, and I don't give a shit. I'll just lean here and look at that. Yeah, nice little pond. So yeah, she saw my vulture shirt before, I think after I got back with my aunt's food, because my aunt goofed up and ordered me and my grandma food and forgot hers. So it's like, well, order yourself something and, I'll go back and get it, because she's... Okay, dying is hard on your brain, so when she went the 30 minutes or whatever with decreased oxygen to the brain, it's been hard on things. So, I get it. I had, my TBI, so I get we have a lot of comparable things, and, right, so, so I was gonna help her out because I knew she just goofed. And granted, it's a pain in the ass because Taco Bell is that way, and the only way out of here is that way. So I had to take the long way around to go back to Taco Bell, but I did it, and it was fine. And when I got back, brought the food in, I had left my dogs in her yard. They were not impressed, especially Gidge. But my... what was it? Derailed again. I was going to take them, and then they didn't want to, Gidget wanted to go. Ziva had a bone, so she was happy and like, leave me alone. But then I can't split them up because then it gets, we get cranky at each other and it's a hot mess. So I left them together and I went around. When I got back and brought the food in, my grandma looks at my shirt and says, "Is that a buzzard on your shirt?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "Ew, why?" I said, "Because I like them," and left it at that. And ignored her, right? So then when she starts in on, or they start in on this other thing with, can I go check on her? It's like, fuck no, I can't go check on her. And there was a whole lot of conversations about, hold on. Okay. Zibby was on alert and I didn't know what was going on, so I didn't know if somebody's coming out here. No! Just give me a minute. Might hop the fence and go down the hill. This one doesn't have a gate. Well, I mean, it's got a gate, but it's got a padlock on it that's like a billion years old and rusted shut, and it has a key. So it's easier to just hop the fence. But anyway, yeah, like when my mom was asking me if I could go check on her, then they just assumed that I was going along with it, and it's like, no, I'm not. And then, I had this like visual in my head of like these people on my case because something had happened to my grandma. It's like, if I had gone over to check on her or whatever, it's like, no, I don't care. I am at the point, I do not care if something happens to that old woman, because I realized that my entire life has gone to, we had to mourn my grandfather for for my entire life, right? And, okay, at least since I was 8 when they moved back. It's like, then it was priority that, like, we mourn that man's death, and he didn't die for 33 years. So that was literally just a waste of life, right? And, I've talked about my grandma as like the number one enabler on that bullshit. She was the one that chose to marry him and chose to go into this whole situation and chose to raise the kids to, forever cater to his bullshit. And then the grandkids were supposed to do the same too. So, going back to that point where she said back in August that she was surprised my mom hadn't been arrested for child abuse. And it's like, the fact that you can go there suggests that you always knew there was a problem and you chose not to do anything about it. I'm not okay with that. Especially being the number one target of the, narcissistic abuse, essentially, because I was the scapegoat. I was the different one. This is not conforming to the bullshit that, my grandfather required. And so, fuck that nonsense. I tried to conform. Like, that was my whole life, trying to, put the round peg in the square hole or whatever. That whole idea. It's like, hi, yeah, that's me. I was the problem because I was the one that was different, and very noticeably different. Because even as a child, I would call out the stupid shit that was going on. Like my mom used to get set on this bullshit about, she would obsess over needing to lose weight, but then it's like, I saw something on TV and it's like, well, there you go. There's something that could help you with that. And my brother yelled at me for saying anything. And it's like, oh, I didn't realize she didn't actually want anything to help. She just wanted to be the victim, right? So that, going back to that victim or terrorist thing. So yeah. But it's like literally she wanted to bitch about it. She didn't want answers. She just wanted to bitch. And yeah, and even that's another piece of this toxic manipulation, if you will. Because, okay, I've talked about things that my mom has said or done to me over the years. And one of those things, I've talked, the big thing that I mention the most is the point where I was walking down the hall in high school, and like the hall of our house, and she calls me in her room just to say, what the fuck were you doing? She didn't say that. What are you doing? Knock it off. There's like pieces of an old fence back here, and somebody just was messing around with it. But anyway, she called me into her room just to say, you're a very pretty girl, but you don't act like it very much. So then, I, of course, have always had this problem with compliments because they've always been followed by something shitty. So I've been working on that, right? But, where was I going? Oh, another thing that she did was I had to get my clothes off of the dryer, I think, off the washing machine. When I was in high school, she'd done laundry, and me and my brother both had stuff in there. And when I went in there to grab my stuff, she comes in the door behind me and kind of blocks me there just to look me up and down and say, I was about that size at your age. It's like, so the fuck what? Are you just trying to see if I'm on track for being as fat as you one of these days? What the hell? What purpose does this even serve? And then I watched I think it was a Dr. Ramani video the other day, and she mentioned narcissistic parents doing things like that, saying the shitty things about their children's bodies, and literally just to make you feel bad about yourself and all that stuff. It's like, it's like I always knew she was always saying the mean things, but, you know, I took it personally and turned it in on me, right? So the world seemed out to get me, but starting here, so it must mean that something's wrong with me, right? And this is why I don't hang out behind here very much. There's weird bugs and weird shit. But yeah. But like, it took, when I saw that Dr. Ramani video the other day, it was just kind of like, oh, you mean not everybody has to deal with that kind of crap from their parents? That's, you know, but even then, that makes perfect sense, because she's always had the abundance of the sugary shit that is good for nobody, because, you know, we got to be on point with her plan. So like, when I started skating all the time and was like addicted to it, she was saying the shitty things. But like, when it started, most of that shit started getting wasted because I wasn't eating it. Then it was like something was wrong with me because I wasn't eating things that I had previously liked. But then I'm, you know, even that was, it's like, one of the things I realized is with like the stress eating, it's like, there, you know, the chaos on my walls, right? That was always in my system. So seeing it outside of my system made me realize that, you know, that's where a lot of that stress eating and, you know, like the nervous habits come in at, or stress shopping is another one, but like especially the stress eating, because that's a big thing for, you know, my entire family. It's like, if you do the things to try to take better care of yourself, okay, like my one cousin is into bodybuilding stuff, and my family will occasionally say things about that, you know, about what she's eating, or you know, she has this big water jug she's always carrying around, and it's like, they're all that way. If they have a mean thing they can say, they lean toward the mean thing, because that's what my grandpa always did, right? Abuse you till you stay in line, and then make you feel like absolute shit by existing in a way that is contrary to their way of being. I don't know. But okay, so how did I end up there? This is kind of all over the place again. This might even be more all over the place than I usually am. I don't know. With two balls following me back here too. Oh, itch. Okay, so a lot of the messages, especially yesterday, was making sure to step back and rest when needed. And I get torn because, you know, like I've been trying to do the videos regularly to make sure I don't slack off on that one or anything. I watched Kino Tarot reading today, got it yesterday, was trying to watch it. There were two piles that I was drawn to. The first pile, okay, before I get there, when I was trying to watch it yesterday, kept not being able to, and I was just starting with the second one first because I felt more of a draw to that one. I was going to have it play while I was playing in mulch over for the family friends and finishing up that project there, and the video kept spinning. Like the internet just kept disappearing. It's like, okay, fine. So I'm clearly just not meant to do this, right? So I just went back to, like, here lately when I've been doing yard work, it's like, I don't want to listen to anything. Like, I have my headphones in case I change my mind, but then it's mainly just, I just would rather be in nature, right? And not do that. So, no. So, yeah, so I just was like, fine, I'll just hang out with myself again. No big deal. Well, then today that kind of makes more sense even. Like the first one, she was talking a lot about, it was one of those, when your manifestations will start coming to you. And the first one was talking about being in a state of flow, right? And just flowing with whatever life presents you with, and not trying to go actively do things one way or another, just being receptive, right? And the other one, she was talking about, it was a similar kind of a thing, but also with a specific message on resting when you need to. And she was talking about how while she was trying to do the message, like video it, she kept finding herself having to walk away from it for a little while. And then she was talking about how she feels like part of the message on that end was that that's basically how I'm building my empire, right? So it's like I go and do things on this particular area for a while, and then wander off from it for a little bit, and then go tend to something else that I want to do. And she said it's all very much connected and related. You guys. Yeah. There's all these weeds back here. We just hang out, you know. We don't normally hang out back here, but this is where we're hanging out right now. So, yeah. Anyway. Bugs. It would be awesome if you'd stop. No, I don't want to. But yeah, she said that she feels like that's a part of it. And like, you do so much on one thing and then go do something somewhere else and then goes to something else. And she said, but you know, very much like when you feel like you need to take a break and walk away from it, do that, because that is also important. You know, and that I feel like that's kind of one of those things I'm trying to learn with this whole thing in and of itself too, you know, like this YouTube thing, because I mean, that's how I've been doing it, right? Like, sit on the rocky rock. No! Whoops! Puppy's gonna get in trouble. Hey! Nope. Hi. Stop! Gidget, no! Okay. Hey, by the way, 3:33. Just wanted to see what time it was, and 3:33, of course it is. But anyway, I don't want that. So she's talking about, you know, planting seeds and then go doing something else and then coming back to it, blah, blah, blah. But that's like been this whole thing too, because, you know, when I started the channel, it's like I did like 7 or 8 videos and then had to walk away from it for a while because it was like I'd already expanded so much farther beyond what I thought was even possible for me, like who I am, let alone what I thought I could actually do. You know, just the act of starting the channel was huge and exhausting. You know, so then I had to kind of integrate that into my my way of being in the world, and whatnot. So yeah, so I took some time off, and then, you know, in March I got back to it. Of course, I started thinking about it in February. It's like, I need to get back to this, and then, you know, I kept struggling with doing the thing, right? But then I had the dream, and it's like, okay, it's time. Since I'm dreaming about it and people are telling me things in the dream, it's time to do the thing, right? And, you know, of course, that dream was the one where the girl said that it was time to start sharing the story I already had to share before more of my mission would be made clear. So, yeah. Go get that one. Or that red thing. Go shake the shit out of the red thing. I don't want that. But yeah, it's like kept having to walk away from it, you know. And when I started doing more with it, it was because, okay, I was doing the thing every few days, and then when I hit the 1 year anniversary, it was like somewhere between 80 and 85 videos, and it was like, I bet I could do that by the end of the year. And then it was like, well, fuck, I bet I could do that by the end of the month. So then it was a challenge to myself. So then I started like really focusing on doing the thing and trying to make it happen. And then it's kind of weird because as I started doing videos more regularly, it actually started building my channel more too. And I was like, okay, so, you know, when I was at a year, at the 1 year anniversary, I had 12 subscribers. And within, I think like 4 to 6 weeks after that, I was up to like 37. Now I'm up to like 115. So it's like, okay. See, and luckily the way I am is I do have to walk away from things periodically, including checking that kind of stuff. So yes, I'm aware that there's stuff happening, but unless I have reason to click in, like I want to see how many videos I'm at or whatever, and I don't normally pay attention to that. But yeah, going back to the, you know, trying different things. It's like building more than one thing at a time. And, you know, and I've talked a lot about how I feel like I'm in the foundation building process, right? And the, you know, every step, yeah, I said there for a while that this was the long game, right? And it's like, I can't rush it. I don't know exactly what the universe has in mind on anything, but I do know that when I go with the flow, it works so much better, and the cards come together. God. So I was watching that video, and then I kept looking at this one card deck. It's like, obviously that one has a message, you know, so I pulled the card deck out and I started shuffling them. And the first one that jumped out was Time Out. Of course, I didn't do any videos yesterday, and then today I intentionally was going to not do much of anything today, right? And this morning, I got a text message from Versity, the platelet, or the donation center, to see if I would donate in the next few days. And it's like, well, I tried to do that the other day and got sidetracked with some family bullshit kind of drama again, and so I canceled. So, go away. So, I'm gonna go sit in the clubhouse, dudes. But it's really gonna aggravate them. They can't get me up here. Can annoy me to death either. So yeah. So it wasn't gonna do anything, right? So I did go ahead and sign up to do that, because like I got nothing else going on, and so I'm just gonna kind of be a chill day. I'm gonna sit up here. Ouch. My parents are probably wondering what the fuck I'm doing, because now I'm just sitting in the clubhouse. And I have this thing in my shoulder, so that's not helpful. But anyway, 57, okay. Oh, damn dog chaos now. I don't remember where I was again. Right, so going with the flow. Okay, so I knew that there were a couple things that I wanted to allot time for before I went to the blood center. And okay. Dude had a song come out today, and I wanted to hear it, so I wanted to be available at the time that it was released, right? So, did. Wanted to also be able to walk the dogs, did. And obviously get ready, all that fun stuff. So it's like, it's been spread out. You know, I set the appointment for 12:45. I was up at, I was awake at 8:30, but then I got out of bed at like 9:30, and you know, I like to daydream so much. That's an important part of my day. But then it's like, okay, so I still have the time to do these things, and then I wanted to leave by 12 to make sure I got there on time, which I didn't. Left it like a quarter after, so that gave me a half hour, so I was 5 minutes late, but then I couldn't donate anyway, so no big deal. But because I was flowing, oh, before that, when I was watching the Kino video and she's talking about, you know, the one video, or the one reading was go with the flow, and then the other one was take breaks as needed. And if you really don't feel like doing something, don't force yourself to do it. Go find something else. And so yesterday I did that. When Gracie got here, I was actually outside painting frames because I talked to the girl with the Etsy shop and was like, hey, I said, what can you tell me about this whole thing? I said, because I paint frames periodically and I've been thinking about starting a shop and trying to sell some. I said, but I haven't talked myself into jumping into it just yet. It's like I have gotten some of the stuff to go ahead and start with, but I just hadn't done it on 11/11, which is another thing. She's all 11/11 and 2/22 and 2/22 as well as 22/22 as well as 44/44 on the videos that she like kept making note of too. So I keep seeing all these numbers too. But yeah, so she gave me some insight on that as well. So yesterday I was doing the painting thing, right? So instead of the YouTube thing, I was focusing on the painting. And it was fine. And I spent some time also looking into the storage facility to, you know, because I talked about how I realized that since I had told that story recently about the process of disconnecting from my ex for good, you know, part of my process was opening a separate bank account after I got a job and only having, or like I had this one job where so much was going to the joint account and so much was going to my own personal account that he didn't know about, you know. And it's like the reason I told that story was because that is time for me to start working in that direction here too, you know. So then yesterday I started looking at storage facilities, and of course I'm not going to need a real big one because I'm still staying in the house until I have things come together. But I was thinking, like, when my brother and niece go to move to Oklahoma, then I can just move that bed, the full size that I'm getting off of them, straight to the storage unit instead of over here and having to find a new place to go with this bed. So it's like, then that'll just be something I don't have to take with me when I'm ready to pack and move to another state. However, all those pieces fall together. But yeah, so the cards, you know, the one deck that was kind of calling to me as I was watching the Kino video, I was shuffling the cards and one jumped out quicker than all the others, and it was the timeout card. Take a break, right? And there's the stack of 3 next to it, and 333, and they were all really relevant as well. And okay, so when I lined them up, it was timeout, and then hope, and then mirrored souls and cosmic connection. And of course, timeout, making sure you take the breaks when you feel like taking the breaks. Then hope, even when you have the bad days like yesterday. Be hopeful for what is coming and don't lose that optimistic viewpoint, even or just because you're having a shitty day, kind of a thing. And then mirrored souls. Yes, this person is a mirrored soul, and you are the stuff you are experiencing is directly related to stuff they are experiencing as well. So it was a whole thing too. And then cosmic connection, because there again, you know, going along with that, as well as the you know, being connected to the whole universe, right? And everything is connected. So yeah, So I pulled those, and then I think I did read those before I went and walked the dogs, because I got back, it was like 12, like, crap, this is the time I wanted to leave, and then there were a few other things that got in the way. It's like, okay, whatever, is what it is. But anyway, in flowing today, just going with the flow, so I went to the blood center, got there late, didn't end up mattering because I wasn't able to donate anyway. You know, it's like the girl that, you know, stuck my finger to pull the blood to see if my numbers were high enough. She was like 10.5. It's like, oh, this is supposed to be like 12.3, I think. It's like, well, that sucks. And this one lady was standing in the doorway. She said she's going to hover and watch, and it was because, of course, the girl that was doing it was new, and I guess they had, like, there's so much paying attention to other things that they're supposed to be doing. So she was standing in the door, and, like, that lady and another one that came in and stood in the doorway to watch were, I mean, they're two of the people that I see the most when I'm there, and they've hooked me up a whole bunch and unhooked me a whole bunch. It's like they're my usuals for when I'm there, and it's usually just because that's how it works out, timing wise. But because my vein's so used to going and doing the thing now, you know, they always fight over who gets to stick me, because my veins are easy to find and cooperative most of the time. So yeah. Anyway, since that didn't work out, I obviously went back to the car, and then what was I looking at? Oh, I was thinking about going to this pond store. So there's this place for decorative ponds and whatnot, and we go there to get our plants and a lot of that stuff. And they came out and cleaned our pond this year, and when they did, they threw up my plant. So pissed. I had this really pretty hibiscus plant that was, and it was in this basket, and the basket was probably like busted all to hell because it's been in there for years, but it's like got these real bright burgundy hibiscus flowers, and it hadn't come back and wasn't doing anything, so they chucked it. It's like, no. So pissed. So I was thinking, since it's Mother's Day, we're just gonna go ahead, or like coming this weekend, I'll go replace it. But the thing that I've realized here, like the past few years, is I mainly stick with stuff. I'll get my mom something like plants for the yard or whatever. Like last year I got a couple peony bushes. Then I plant them, weed the area. See that, baby girl? You better not come up here. No, stay down there. You're all right. Just what I need them to find the way up here. Actually, it wouldn't be a problem if she found her way up here. It'd be a matter of if she found her way back down safely. Oh, it's raining. I see that. It's not. I'm not raining. I'm not getting rained on. So yeah. Oh, so I was looking at the pond place to see how far it was away and if I had enough money in the bank account just yet. Not yet. I gotta wait till I get paid tomorrow. But then I figure I'll go there. But what I've realized was, if I do the stuff outside, it's like more so for nature than my mother. But I can say it's for my mother. So, yeah. But like that was just a thought I had this week, because I watched something that was talking about daughters of narcissistic mothers, and it's like, oh man, shit. Found a new page that I was kind of, what was that, Candace something or other, I think. It popped up, and it's like, oh, yep, feeling that, and it's like, hey, well, you know, I realized that it's like, I have to, for my family's, or where my family's concerned, get something for my mom, obviously, but it's like, what I'm really doing is more giving back to nature and Mother Earth, so I like it better that way. Yeah, but anyway, that didn't happen, so I'm driving back home, and guess what? I just Just so happened, that's what it was. I listened to the premiere on the radio, but I ran out to the car. I was like, I had a minute left. So I was like, okay, well, it's getting ready to come on. And it's like, wait a second. I don't have this in the house. I need that in my car. So I went out to the car and sat in there, rolled the windows down, and listened to it. And it's like, that was the thing. I went back after the song was over to read the cards, and then we went on a walk. But yeah, then after the blood center didn't all work out, but since I'm just flowing with wherever life's leading me, I end up in the car and am driving back home and get to hear the song again. And I fucking love it again, which obviously, love this dude's voice, so we're just going to leave that there. But yeah. And wouldn't have been able to hear it twice had I not gone on this whole little journey, had I not started my day thinking that I wasn't going to, or that I was going to do as little as possible, and then just followed the flow of things and, you know, being led, and ending up being in the right space at the right time. So, like, it's all working together on that end. But, like, today's really just kind of let that set in, like, especially with the keynote readings that I read or watched this morning, and she's talking about when your manifestations find their way to you is when you're going with the flow, and when you're taking rest from the things you don't want to do, and not forcing yourself to do those things when you don't really feel like it. So yeah, going with the flow. Let me hear it twice today, and not miss any of it. And there's something else with that. I feel like there's something else on the Taco Bell end. And I know that's a silly thing for there to be, but I don't know. But interestingly, like when I was getting ready to do the video, I was coming outside and looked at my phone and it was 2:22. Right? So then I look at the clock at 3:33. Oh, I saw this thing on Instagram where it says, some lady said something about refusing to ever take on take on a grown man to raise as a child, because he hasn't done his work or whatever. Oh shoot, the puppy has that plastic thing again. But when I had seen it, it had like, I want to say 1,222 views and 333, I don't know, but there was a 222 and a 333 in it, and I took a picture or a screenshot of it just because those numbers are like interesting. But another thing where she's talking, Kino was talking about, you're very close to your intuition and you hear it a lot more than you think you do, as long as you stop and take the time to allow yourself to hear it and follow the guidance that you're getting. It's like, I know that's the case because there's been a lot of that here lately too, where it's like, I'll stop and think something and then there will be an immediate response. Like I've talked about checking in with myself before I go to the cemetery or the park, and which one, 333 again, which one I meant to go in that time, right? And 1, 2, 3, 4 as well. But it's like just that simple. Like today it was, I was just kind of thinking walking dogs, and it's like park. And Peppy went with us, and I think that's the first time she's been to that park. And we were going to go to the short path, but then we ended up going the even shorter path because it was just so chaotic. And I was like, yeah, we're done with this. I'm done. So yeah. Try to figure out if I've covered everything that I wanted to. I don't know that I have. I don't know. It was a kind of interesting day how the flow is going together with everything too. Oh, that was another thing. Last night I was in a really grumpy mood. It's like, what the fuck is my deal, dude? It's like I was not enjoying my own company at all. And it got to a point after my brother picked up Gracie and they left. I was like, fuck this, I gotta take a bath. And I dumped a ton of salt in that tub. And when I got out, I was in a great mood. It's like, yeah. It's like I just needed to disconnect from all the toxic, icky family energy, get that out of my system, and be able to have my own energy again, because that was definitely Nosferatu, right? Family leeching on my energy and very much sucking the life out of me. Yeah, felt it a whole lot. So yeah, it's no longer raining, I don't think. Thinking about skating. Don't know. I suppose if I do, there's a really good chance I could be in the car again at the right time for the song to come on again. Because that's how we're kind of flowing today. I think Gidget's ready for me to get out of this clubhouse and throw the ball again. Which, obviously, she's been wanting me to throw the ball a lot today. This whole time. No. Where's your cousin? Where's your cousin? She's like, I don't care. Oh, she's up on the porch. Yeah. What else? I think I'm going to just do the thing. So, because this is kind of enjoyable. Okay. As always, I appreciate you. Until the next time. See ya.